We are back with the top 10 positional rankings videos. Last video we did the top 10 catchers in baseball. Next up is the top 10 first basemen in baseball. And no one told me it was going to be this difficult. I wish they would have, because it was insanely difficult to come up with these rankings. But anyway, let's just jump right into it. Coming in at number 10 is going to be Tristan Cuevas of the Boston Red Sox. 2023 was Tristan's first full season in the bigs, and he started off pretty slow. He had a really tough April, had a really tough May, and he finished with an OPS of 728 before the break. However, he had an amazing second half, posting a 1034 OPS after the All-Star break. And overall, he slashed 263, 367 with a 490 slugging, and 857 OPS. That is a very respectable slash line. He also had 24 home runs, and his OPS plus was 129. Now, he does strike out a lot, but he also takes his walks. His on-base percentage was 100 points higher than his average. For some reason, I just love to see a slash line with an on-base percentage that much higher than the average. However, he is a poor fielder. He had -4 defensive runs saved last year, and he also doesn't hit lefties as well. It's not that dramatic of a split differential, but it's obvious that he has a tougher time against lefties. He strikes out a lot more. But overall, this was a very strong season for his first full year. He finished 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting, and he has an extremely bright future. If he starts 2024 how he finished 2023, he's going to be a lot higher on this list next year. Coming in at number 9 is going to be Josh Naylor of the Guardians. Now, this is a guy who is really slept on. I don't think people realize how good he is. Last year, he had 308 with a 354 on base percentage, a 489 slugging percentage, and an OPS plus of 133. He also had 17 home runs and drove in 97 runs. He missed a little bit of time later in the year too, but he still almost drove in 100 runs. He also plays a pretty solid first base. And one thing Naylor really improved on this year was his lefty splits. 2022, his lefty splits were so bad, but this year it was extremely good. He also received MVP votes this year, and even though he's really slow, he still racked up 10 stolen bases this year. I'm excited to see what he can do at 24. He's one of the main offensive pieces in the Guardians lineup, and I think he deserves some more recognition. Number 8 is going to be another underrated player in Christian Walker. He's been underrated for several years now. He's always on the field. He played 157 games in 2022 and 160 in 2023, and he's had back-to-back 30 home run seasons. He might be the most quiet 30 home run hitter we've ever seen. He slashed 258, 333 with a 497 slugging and an OPS plus of 123 last year. And he may be the best defensive first baseman in baseball. He had 9 defensive runs saved and he had 12 outs above average. And he won the Gold Glove for the 2nd time in a row. He also finished 23rd in MVP voting. It's weird to think that he's never been an All-Star though. He turns 33 in 2024, but I hope he can keep it up for several more years. Hope he can help the D-backs get back to the playoffs this year. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. This is probably where the rankings get a little bit interesting, maybe even controversial. This has been the 2nd straight disappointing year in a row since 2021 when he had that monster year. He slashed 264 with a 345 on base and a 444 slugging percentage with a 789 OPS plus a 117. He also hit 26 home runs and drove in 94 runs. Vlad did win the Gold Glove in 2022, but he was a terrible defender in 23, having -6 defensive runs saved. Now, this is not a terrible year by any means, but this is just not one expected from Vlad at this point, at least when it comes to the results. If we take a closer look at his underlying metrics, he got extremely unlucky last year. His expected batting average and expected slugging were all way higher than what actually happened. He still hits the bar incredibly hard, and he has really cut down on strikeouts while getting better at taking walks. I know I'm putting him 7th, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had a monster 2024. I think it's absolutely possible it can happen, and I hope it does. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Paul Goldschmidt. Now, Paul Goldschmidt won the MVP in 2022, but he had a really down year in 2023. This is the first time since 2012 that he wasn't an All-Star, didn't get MVP votes, wasn't a Gold Glover, or wasn't a Silver Slugger. That is a hell of a drop-off, and that is wild to hear. And overall, he slashed 268 with a 363 on base and a 447 slugging percentage with an OPS plus of 120. He hit 25 home runs and 80 RBI. And he's still a solid defender, accumulating 3 defensive runs saved. But he's entering his age 36 season, so I'm not really sure how much more he has at this type of level. I'm not ready to drop him down just yet. I still think he has some years remaining at this level of production. I'm just not comfortable putting him ahead of who's left on this list. But I hope he does have a productive year in 2024. Also, if you made it this far in the video, make sure to like the video. It helps me out a ton. And subscribe if you want to see future videos. I have a lot of fun plans for 2024. Love to have you along for them. Starting the top 5 is going to be Pete Alonso. It's a contract year for Pete, and there's been rumors about the Mets trading him. And if that happens, whoever's on the receiving end is going to get themselves a hell of a first baseman. I know he only hit 217, but he had an OPS plus of 122, and he hit 46 home runs and 118 RBI. The average was down, but it's still a really good year. He's also a really good defender, a sneaky good defender at first base, putting up 6 defensive runs saved last year. And despite the low average, he still has really good underlying metrics. He's still a barrel king, and his expected batting average is a lot higher than usual. I'm not saying he's going to be a 300 hitter next year, but it's still expected to be higher than 217. I'd expect him to maybe hit around 240, 250 next year with at least 40 home runs. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Yandy Diaz of the Rays. Yandy is a dude who's been kind of memed in the MLB community for his bodybuilder physique with his massive arms. And ironically, the past couple of seasons, he really hasn't hit for power despite how big he is. But this past season, he finally added some power to his game. And overall, he slashed 330 with a 410 on base and a 522 slugging percentage. Good for an OPS of 932 and an OPS plus of 152. He was ridiculous at the plate last year. He also hit 22 home runs compared to just 9 in 2022. He was an all-star and he finished 6th in the MVP voting. He also took home a silver slugger. He doesn't strike out hardly at all, and he does take his walks here and there. I'm never going to complain about a guy who gets on base 40% of the time or better. He also hit 35 doubles, and he hits the ball insanely hard. He's not a great defender, but the bat makes up for it in my opinion. And I'm excited to see if he adds even more power next year. If he increases the launch angle just a little bit, he's going to at least hit 30 home runs. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Bryce Harper. If you'd have told me a couple years ago that Bryce Harper was going to be first baseman, I would have said you were lying. But I think this is going to be a great fit for him. Last year, he started off a little bit slow. He was coming back from Tommy John. He came back hella early, so the power wasn't an immediate thing that came back for Bryce. But he had an excellent second half with an OPS at almost 1,000. And overall, he finished the year with a slash line of 293 with a 401 on base and a 499 slugging percentage. OPS exactly at 900 with an OPS plus of 146. He's a generational talent. He's still one of the best bats in baseball. He hits everything. He hits lefties, he hits righties. It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to worry about playing in the outfield anymore, but bet on him being great defensively. I just wouldn't put it past him to win a Gold Glove over first base this coming year. And I'm willing to bet now that he doesn't have to play the outfield, he's going to have a huge offensive year. And we all know he has the clutch gene. He's just going to be so fun to watch. He's a future Hall of Famer, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes higher on this list next year. But this season, there's just a couple guys better than Bryce. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Matt Olsen of the Braves. 2022 was Matt Olsen's first year with Atlanta, and that year was a little bit of an appetizer to what was coming this year, which was a full course meal. He led the National League in home runs with 54. He led the National League in RBI with 139. He was an all-star. He was 4th in MVP voting. For a little bit there, he was on pace to hit 60 home runs, it felt like. He's an excellent defender. He's a former Gold Glove. He's on the field every single day. Played 162 games in back-to-back years. He strikes out a ton, but he also walks a ton. He had over 100 walks. He even had 3 triples, which was a sight to see with his speed. It was hilarious. I hope he hits 10 next year. I can't get enough of it. He's turning 30 this coming year, and he's in the thick of his prime. It's scary to think that this could be the new norm from him. He's going to have plenty of protection in that Atlanta lineup. There's just so many hitters around him. It's so hard to hit 50 home runs in a season, but I wouldn't put it past him to do it again next year. With that type of year, it's crazy to think that there are 3 guys who finished ahead of him in MVP voting. It's just wild. But there's just one player who I think is a little bit better than him right now, and that player is going to be Freddy Freeman. Freddy Freeman, the former Brave. I don't know whether he's showing no signs of aging or he's just aging gracefully. He's been one of the most consistent hitters in baseball, like, I don't know, the last 10 years. And last year he slashed 331 with a 410 on base and a 567 slugging percentage with an OPS of 976 and an OPS plus of 161. He hit 29 home runs, 102 RBI, and he hit 59 doubles. He was an all-star and he was 3rd in MVP voting. He just does everything. He's not a great fielder, but a solid enough defender, and he also stole 23 bases. Not only did he steal that many bases, but he's also a smart base runner. He's good at getting reads. He's good at going 1st to 3rd, 2nd to home on a single. He does it all, and he does it year after year after year. His lowest OPS from 2016 to now is 892. That is an insane run. I think it's perfectly reasonable to put Matt Olsen at the number 1 spot on this list, but it's the year-to-year consistency from Freddy Freeman that's putting him at number 1 on this list. It's just insane how consistent he is. He's a future Hall of Famer, and I still think he can have a couple more years at this type of level. I had to make a lot of tough decisions in this list, and I don't expect it to get any easier the further down these lists we go.